Early morning, December 1st, 1948. A jeweler is out for a walk along Somerton Beach, near Adelaide, Australia. In the distance, he notices a man lying on the sand, propped up against the seawall, dressed in a smart suit and tie, legs crossed at the ankles, almost as if he had simply sat down to enjoy the sunrise and fallen asleep. The jeweler doesn't think much of it. People napped on that beach all the time. It's only hours later, when someone finally walks over to check on him, that they realize the man is dead. He has no wallet, no identification of any kind. Every single label has been cut out of his clothes. And in his pocket, hidden in a spot so well concealed that investigators almost missed it entirely, was a tiny scrap of paper with 2 words printed on it, in a language nobody at the scene could even read. For more than 70 years, nobody knew who this man was. He would come to be known simply as the Somerton Man, and his case would become one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in the world. When police examined the body, there was nothing that immediately explained his death. He appeared to be in good physical shape, somewhere in his 40s. There were no visible wounds, no signs of a struggle. His pockets held a few ordinary items: a comb, some chewing gum, a box of matches, a pack of cigarettes with a different, more expensive brand of cigarettes tucked inside it, and a bus ticket that had never been used. But there was no wallet, no keys, and no way to identify him whatsoever. An autopsy found nothing conclusive either. His organs showed signs consistent with poisoning, but no toxicologist could ever identify what substance might have caused it. 3 separate medical witnesses at the inquest into his death agreed on only one thing: that whatever killed him, it was not natural. Unable to identify the body through normal means, and unwilling to let the case simply vanish, authorities embalmed him and had a plaster cast made of his head and upper torso, in case it was ever needed later. Then they buried him, sealed under concrete, in a plot of dry ground specifically chosen so his body could be exhumed again someday if new information ever came to light. For years afterward, mysterious bouquets of flowers would occasionally appear on his grave, left by someone who was never identified and never came forward. Roughly a month after his death, police found a suitcase in a locker at the Adelaide railway station that they believed had belonged to him. Inside were a few pieces of clothing, a stencil brush of the kind used by ship workers, a knife, scissors, a screwdriver, and articles of clothing labeled with slightly different variations of a name T. Keane. But there was no T. Keane that police could ever locate. A tailor examined the clothing and concluded that the stitching techniques used were American, not Australian, suggesting the man might not have been from the area at all, or perhaps had spent significant time overseas. Then, months into the investigation, in May of 1949, a pathologist re-examining the body discovered something that had been completely missed before: a tiny pocket sewn into the man's trousers, so small and so well hidden that it hadn't been noticed in the original search. Inside it was a tightly rolled scrap of paper. On it, printed in an elegant type, were 2 words: Tamám Shud, Persian for "it's finished," or "it is ended." Investigators eventually traced the phrase to the final page of a rare and obscure book, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a 12th century collection of Persian poetry that had become popular in the West through a famous 19th century English translation. That discovery only deepened the mystery. Police issued a public appeal, and within days, a man came forward saying he had found a copy of that exact book, with the final page torn out, tossed into the backseat of his unlocked car around the same time as the death, parked not far from where the body was later found. When police compared the torn page to the tiny fragment found on the body, they matched perfectly. But it's what was inside that book that turned this from a strange death into a genuine international enigma. On the inside back cover, faintly visible under ultraviolet light, was a block of capital letters, arranged in 5 short lines that looked exactly like some kind of code. Nobody has ever definitively cracked it. Codebreakers from Australian intelligence, cryptography experts, and even, reportedly, specialists connected to the FBI have all taken their turn at it over the decades. None succeeded. The same book also contained a phone number, faintly penciled in. Police traced it to a young nurse living nearby, a woman investigators referred to publicly only as Justin to protect her identity. When shown a plasma cast of the dead man's face, witnesses said she appeared visibly shaken, though she denied outright that she recognized him. It later emerged that this woman had, at one point, owned a copy of the very same edition of the Rubaiyat. Whether she actually knew the same man and simply chose not to say so has never been confirmed. She died decades later, taking whatever she knew, if anything, to her grave. For 73 years, theory after theory circulated. Was he a Cold War-era spy, silently poisoned in an act of espionage, at a time when tensions between East and West were rising sharply across the world? Was he a smuggler, caught up in something far darker than his ordinary appearance suggested? A former ballet dancer, based on unusual, well-developed calf muscles noted during the autopsy? A broken-hearted man who took his own life using an untraceable poison, perhaps connected somehow to the nurse who lived nearby? Every single theory ran into the same wall: no name, no records, no fingerprint match anywhere in the world. That finally began to change in 2022. Derek Abbott, a professor at the University of Adelaide, who had spent over a decade obsessed with the case, teamed up with American forensic genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick. Working together, they extracted trace DNA from strands of hair that had become embedded, almost by accident, in the plaster death mask made back in 1949. Using that genetic material, they built out an enormous family tree containing more than 4,000 relatives, gradually narrowing the search until one name emerged as the most likely match: Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer and instrument maker from Melbourne, born in 1905, who had seemingly vanished from public records sometime in April of 1947. According to what researchers uncovered about Webb's life, he had reportedly enjoyed betting on horses, which some now believe may finally explain the mysterious code, the letters possibly corresponding to the names of horses, rather than any secret military cipher at all. He was also known to have an interest in poetry, and by some accounts even wrote his own, which offered a far more human, far less dramatic explanation for why he might have been carrying a treasured line of Persian verse. Still, even with a name finally attached to the case, enormous questions remain completely unanswered. Why was Carl Webb in Adelaide, hundreds of kilometers from where he was last known to live? Why had every label been carefully cut from his clothing? What actually killed him? And was it truly poison, deliberately administered by someone else? Or simply an unexplainable natural event that 70 years of science still can't fully identify? And who was the woman with the phone number in the book, and what, if anything, did she really know? South Australian police have acknowledged the findings, but have never formally closed the case, and forensic science of Australia has stopped short of an official confirmation. So even now, decades after that jeweler first spotted a well-dressed man resting quietly against a sinkhole, the Somerton Man story remains on part to finish. We may finally know his name, the truth of how and why Carl Webb ended up dead on that beach. with a coded message no one has ever cracked, is a mystery that still isn't completely closed. If this case pulled you in as deeply as it has pulled in codebreakers and true crime fans across the world for over 7 decades, hit that like button. Share your own theory in the comments. Send this to someone who loves a real unsolved mystery, and subscribe for more true stories just like this one.